Hello and welcome back to the all new, all different number one comics podcast, issue number 78. Because comic books have issues, and so does Bob. I'm Dan. That's Bob. Say hello, Bob.
Hello, Bob. And yes, I do have a lot of issues.
You know, it's a running joke, but holy crap, is it an understatement? You know, we're in our 40s. My God, issues just don't stop, do they?
Yeah. We just always hope every day that a new one doesn't pop up.
Yeah, exactly. New issues are never fun. Anyways, we are a weekly comic book podcast where each and every episode we take a look at a brand new first issue comic book, break down the story and art, give it somewhat of a review, and let you guys know if we think that you should move on to issue number 2 or not. We also talk a little bit of comic book news, if and when that exists, and man, does it exist again this week. And we also talk about some new books that are dropping in comic book shops this and next week. Bob, this week we're going to be taking a deep dive into the all-new number 1.
A brand new volume of X-Men.
That's right. From Marvel Comics, you heard it right. X-Men. No, not those X-Men. These X-Men. Not the uncanny X-Men just yet, but the adjectiveless X-Men, right? Is that the right word I'm supposed to use?
Later on in the year, there'll be a few X-Men with adjectives, so we'll make up for it.
Yeah, the adjectives are coming. Don't worry. Don't get upset. The adjectives will be here. Very important in X-Men and in all Marvel comics that you have adjectives, okay? You can't have, like, Hulk. You got to have an Incredible Hulk. You have to have an amazing Spider-Man. And you've got to have uncanny X-Men. Very, very important to Marvel. So
just imagine the history of comics without adjectives.
Yeah, I don't want to imagine that, Bob. That's scary. It's not what I want out of my comics.
Ooh. Just a Hulk. Yeah, just Spider-Man.
Yeah, sounding a lot like their competitor there.
No, Amazing Fantasy. You just have fantasy.
Ooh, yeah, fantasy comics. Yeah, I'm not. It just doesn't have that gusto to it. It's not like it doesn't make you want to pick up an issue. Fantasy.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, I'll take the Amazing Fantasy any day. We're going to take a quick break and have our own Amazing Fantasy, and we'll return in just a moment. And we are back with episode number 78 of the all new, all different number one comics podcast, here to talk to you about some comic book news. Now, Bob, if you had to guess, again, I guess you and I know this. I guess the listeners don't know this just yet, unless our audio quality is different or whatever. But we're podcasting remotely today. You're in sunny Florida, and I'm also in sunny Florida, but we're in two different, sides of the neighborhood, whatever you call it. We're talking through a computer today. So
either way, it's god awful hot.
Yeah, it sure as hell is. Always hot here in sunny Florida. So for comic book news today, you can't feel the air in the room, because again, we're not in the same room. But before we get into comic book news, I would just like to. I try not to do this, it's like I don't like bringing up deaths or whatever, but they come up and it happens, so we talk about it a little bit. But of course, we know Shelley Duvall just passed this past week. The iconic actress from The Shining, amongst other things. But yeah, just got news like just now that Dr. Ruth has also died at 96 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Speaking, I guess off air, we were talking about Hugh Hefner and whatnot. So I guess that's topical enough for our conversation. But yeah, Dr. Ruth has passed at 96, and Richard Simmons has just passed as well. I think he was 67.
Really?
76. Yes. Yeah, I think his birthday was just the other day. And yeah, he just passed as well. So I don't know the cause of anybody's cause of death or anything, but yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, very surprising. There was a lot of back and forth because just pretty recently there was a podcast coming out about like what happened to Richard Simmons, because he kind of like completely fell out of the spotlight and everything, and that was an interesting kind of mystery podcast that was going on. And I guess more recently than that, he had come out and said publicly that he did not want anyone to like make a movie about his life, and it was, I guess, in the works or in talkings that Pauly Shore was going to play him, and he was like,
Oh
"You don't have
God.
my blessing. Yeah, I don't want this." So I wonder if that changes anything. Or I mean, obviously too soon to know, but yeah, sad. I mean, Bob, we're both kids from the '80s, you know. So
Yep.
Richard Simmons, whether we watched him or not, you know, just flipping channels, you sure as hell knew who Richard Simmons was. Um,
That, and I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure at least my mom had a workout video.
Oh yeah, I'm sure mine did too. Probably a few of them. You know, it's almost like one of those things. If your mom, you know, watched the Home Shopping Network or QVC or any of these things where you could just order from the phone, like they'd end up with like a nice VHS box set, you know, or something, or you know, whatever it was. But
it was either Richard Simmons or Jane Fonda.
oh yeah, well the Jane Fonda workout. Hey, I mean, if your mom wants to lend me those tapes, I'll watch them. Just saying.
I'm not going to comment.
Well, yeah, sad to see all of them go. You know, really, people, you know, that did some really impactful things and had some huge power, I don't know, in pop culture and everything, and they're gone now. So that sucks. But I don't know. I think they all had pretty nice full lives. So I guess that's all you can ask for.
Especially Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, really. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie, you know, and I think I said she passed at 96, I believe was her age. But I mean, dude, you got to admit, when we were kids and she was like on a talk show or something, and I'm talking, you know, the early 90s or something. I mean, I thought the lady was ancient then. So yeah, I think she had a nice full life. So good for her. Yeah. And I think that she helped a lot of people also. So good on her.
Did.
Really cool. Yeah, really cool.
She did.
Over to some comic book, you know, more comic book related news. San Diego Comic-Con has rolled out its schedule for the 2024 convention, and it's supposed to run. It starts July 25th through the 28th, and yeah, there's several major franchises that are going to make an appearance, including Bob the big one. Marvel Studios is back with Kevin Feige. So
nice.
in Hall H, and yeah, it's like yes. Star Trek is going to be there. The Penguin, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the Walking Dead franchise, one that I know you're really happy about, Transformers 1.
Yes.
Alien Romulus, The Boys, Doctor Who, and of course a lot of other things as well. But I just kind of want to go over some of the highlights of the schedule. So starting Thursday the 25th from 11:45 to 12:45 in Hall H, Transformers 1. Paramount Animation and Hasbro Entertainment will be there with their panel discussion and exclusive footage. So, Bob, I know you're pissed you don't got tickets to this thing, right?
Yeah. I've said to myself, before, maybe eventually I'd make it out there, but it's kind of like now, I don't know, just something about it. I mean, if I want to go, I want to go for the comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm with you.
I know Comic-Con, still has comics, but I mean, it isn't as focused as it once was.
Oh, yeah. Definitely more focused on the entertainment media side of it. Bob, next up is celebrating 25 years of SpongeBob SquarePants. So a Nickelodeon panel there.
25.
Yeah, I know, right? Exclusive content. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody needs to throw that sponge away.
Right, 25 years. It's a long time for a sponge.
Yeah.
But yeah, there will be exclusive content. There's going to be a cast table reading. The voice cast will be there. Executive producers, all of that kind of thing. So yeah, sounds fun if you're a huge fan of SpongeBob. I know, actually, I won't call out his name, but I know one listener who is a very huge SpongeBob fan, so you know who you are. So good for him. I guess he'll hopefully get to see some of that footage.
I'm not gonna lie, the cast rating, I mean, would be pretty cool because I mean, I know, SpongeBob. I know the cast is, I know it's a pretty good cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Bob, we're going to have a first look at Peacock's horror thriller series Teacup. I know nothing about this, but yeah, Teacup. It is a terrifying tale following a desperate group of people in rural Georgia who must come together and face a mysterious threat in order to survive. And it sounds like a regular like Tuesday night for me, so I don't know what they're talking about, but I guess that's interesting. We'll have a spotlight on Jim Lee. So that is super cool. 35 plus years in the industry. And, he's going to be there bringing some of the, what Jim Lee does. So, yeah, that's super cool. There's a Percy Jackson and the Olympians panel. I don't know much about that. Bob, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the studios that brought the last animated film, the Mutant Mayhem film. New Paramount Plus original series, Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, explores everyone's favorite pizza-loving heroes as they emerge from the sewers onto the streets of New York City. All of the voice cast will be there, along with behind-the-scenes footage and all of that. So that's super cool for those of you that are really into Turtles. I'm going to skip some of it because a lot of it, again, it goes into this TV stuff that I don't know much about and doesn't sound that interesting to me. Let's head over to Friday and starting off in Hall H at 10 in the morning. 10 in the morning, perfect time to talk about The Boys, I guess. The showrunner and executive producer will be there, along with stars from the cast there. And yeah, they're going to have, again, like you're going to see a lot of the same stuff for each one of these things, behind the scenes stuff, stuff that's never been seen before, interviews, all of that kind of stuff. So we know what to expect at a panel at, Comic-Con, but, The Boys, a huge show. Everybody loves The Boys. I mean, I'm not in that camp, but I think you love The Boys. I think most of our listeners love The Boys. So yeah, super cool. Next up, we've got Lord of the Rings of Power. Of course, that. Bob, are you a big Lord of the Rings fan? Did you like the?
I mean, I enjoyed the movies. I really liked the movies, but other than that, it's not like Star Wars where I know all of the lore, all of the characters, anything like that. So I mean, I'm just not. Again, I like the movies, but I never read any of the books. I'm just not invested in any of the characters.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's got lore, but yeah, it's definitely not as deep as something in Star Wars. It's pretty straightforward, but yeah, I mean, there's areas to poke around in there. But yeah, I'm about in the same boat as you. I really enjoyed those original 3 movies there. I don't know. It would be something I would be like really that excited to check out more of, but I never watched the Hobbit movies or anything after that, but whatever. Anyways, I'll try to go a little bit quicker through the rest of these because we do have other news to get to, but I did want to talk about the release of the schedule here. So next up, Snowpiercer. Everybody knows Snowpiercer. We have a Doctor Who panel, Into the Whoniverse. I guess you're supposed to say that. That'll be over at Hall H. Jim Lee and Friends, as I said before. Then we get Walking Dead, Dead City Season 2. We've got Solar Opposites. I'm not too sure what that is. Maybe a television
animated show.
Oh, okay. A Hulu show. Okay, I got you. We got more Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. Those are all words that probably mean something to someone. Bob, we've got Marvel Fanfare with Kevin Feige. So yeah, super cool. Marvel's editor-in-chief will be there along with Kevin Feige to discuss their mutual love of all things Marvel Comics, and they'll have surprise creators and all of that cool stuff. So that sounds cool. The Great White North is after that. I don't know what that is. There's a Bob's Burgers panel. And then we've got Collider's directors on directing. I don't know. Looks like directors from Training Day and Independence Day and stuff like that, talking about directing. We've got a panel for Alien Romulus, a panel for Dexter Original Sin. So I guess Dexter is getting a sequel series here. Is that what that is?
I guess. I mean,
It says
Dexter was never one of the. I mean, I know a lot of people were big into it. I just never got into it.
Yeah, I've never watched an episode of it, but it does look like it has special guest star Sarah Michelle Gellar. So, I mean, maybe that's worth the price of admission alone. And next up, we've got Harley Quinn and Kite Man Hell Yeah panel, featuring sneak peeks at unreleased Kite Man Hell Yeah scenes, and what's in store for Harley Quinn in the upcoming 5th season. So that is super cool.
It's about time that show comes back.
Right? Now, Saturday, here's the big day, Saturday, July 27th. We start out with My Adventures of Superman screening, presentation, and panel. Of course, they've got Jake White, Josie Campbell, Jack Quaid, everybody's there. So that's cool. Futurama has a panel. Super cool. I love Futurama, so that's really cool.
Nice.
Everybody Still Hates Chris gets a panel. Whatever. I didn't know that was an ongoing thing. We've got a Superman and Lois special video presentation and Q&A for your first look into the iconic series. Yeah, that's cool. There's a Simpsons panel.
Never watched it.
Right. There's an Abbott Elementary. What, you've never watched the Simpsons panel? There's a there's a Berserker panel, The Immortal Saga Unleashed. We've got an American Dad panel, The Rookie. Now, I'm wondering. Okay, this is a season, so this is a show. Okay, I was like, are they remaking?
Yeah, it's a show. What is it? Fox. It's a show with Nathan Fillion. And he plays I think he plays a rookie officer.
Oh, okay. I see. We've got the Star Trek universe, a big Star Trek panel. So, again, Bob, I know that Star Trek is your favorite franchise. So, some exciting news will come out of that for you. There's a Family Guy panel. Look, I feel about Family Guy how you probably feel about Star Trek. So, we've got that.
I can't believe Family Guy's still going.
Yeah, you and me both. Wow, I thought that was washed up after its second season. But we've got Batman Caped Crusader. Caped Crusader, and Matt Reeves and cast members will be there for a world premiere screening of the upcoming and highly anticipated series, following a moderated Q&A where they will discuss their characters and tease key storylines in upcoming seasons. Critical Role Fireside Chat and Cast Q&A. We've got Tracker. I don't know what Tracker is. Sorry.
Yeah.
We've got.
What is it? CW show. I believe Jensen Ackles is going to be on this season.
Okay. Oh, so it's like a show that's already been.
Right.
Out. Okay. Interesting. We've got Silo, second season of Silo on Apple TV. I'm not sure. It's got Rebecca Ferguson and Common in it. Don't know anything about it. DreamWorks Animation, The Wild Robot. The Penguin. There's a panel for The Penguin. We got Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire and Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches. And Bob, the big, one that I'm really interested in here, of course, Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios president and producer Kevin Feige and special guests will provide an inside look into the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe. Back at Hall H, back at 6 till 7. They're super cool. After that, following that, we've got from MGM. I don't know what that is. And then Bob, closing out the night, or sorry, I guess there is something after that. But, the big event for me here is a panel with Kevin Smith, 7:30 till 9 o'clock.
Oh, nice.
Kevin Smith celebrates the 30th anniversary for Clerks, and he returns to Hall H with a sneak peek at his newest movie, the 4:30 movie. And of course, he's going to do Q&A because that's what he does. He'll talk about
Mhm.
the next Jay and Silent Bob movie, that 90s show as well. And, he's got his own movie theater now and podcast uh,
Hmm.
house or whatever you want to call it. It's called Smod Castle. But yeah, super cool to have Kevin Smith there. And then last up is a celebration of Has Been Hotel, hosted by Hot Topic, whatever that is. Yes. So that is the San Diego Comic Con news, or schedule rather. So yeah, super cool. Super cool to have that out and be able to talk about it a little bit. Is there anything in there that you're really excited about hearing about? I know for me, it's obviously going to be whatever Kevin Feige has to say. But
Right. Um. I mean, yeah. Besides, I just want an update on this freaking Blade movie.
yeah, I mean, hopefully something like that comes out. But yeah, I wonder, you know, Kevin Feige, at Hall H, Marvel back at Comic Con and all that, Marvel Studios. I feel like, yeah, there's got to be some kind of big news coming out. There's no way that they go just to kind of talk about whatever or pitch the things that we already know are coming. So, yeah.
Right. So it does. So James Gunn and DC won't be at,
Yeah,
except for
apparently
that little
not.
bit of, huh?
Yeah,
That's kind of
apparently no James
surprising,
Gunn.
actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if they want to, especially if they're restarting the DCEU.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, huh? That there's like no presence there for them. Like I'm yeah, it's kind of strange. But hey, whatever. So some
Time
other
just went, I
news,
guess.
right? Bob, we got some other news, of course, some big news, and I didn't talk to you off air about this yet, so let's hope you watched it. But I'm assuming you watched that surprise Captain America: Brave New World trailer.
I did.
Yeah, yeah, you did. We both did, and yeah, some big surprises there. Of course, we got Harrison Ford, we got
Hmm.
that end stinger. There's a lot there. There's some great lines in the movie. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. This is like reminding me of like kind of old school like MCU trailer. Like it hits all the right beats and it's got the nice little reveal in the trailer there and everything. Like this just I don't want to say there's no way they could mess this up, but like let me not say something like that. But man, it looks really promising.
Yeah, it looks promising, but I gotta say, to be honest, I mean, it wasn't exactly the sort of trailer that got me pumped. I mean, the Deadpool Wolverine trailers, that's got me pumped for the movie.
Hmm.
But just watching this, I mean, it didn't give away a whole lot.
No,
I mean,
definitely not.
it it definitely gave away enough. I mean, it showed the updated outfit. I mean, of course, it showed uh, Thaddeus Ross hulking out, which I am interested to see if they're going to do like they do for Mark Ruffalo and actually use Harrison Ford's face.
Hmm.
I am interested to see if that happens. I'm interested to see if they possibly go down Red She-Hulk Avenue
Yeah.
with Liv Tyler there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I mean, there are some definite interesting aspects to it. I want to see what they do with the Serpent Society. What their take on that is. I'm interested to know what character Giancarlo Esposito's playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise, that could be really really cool. Really
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah.
Hmm. And did you hear about the controversy already with the character of I cannot remember her real name, but the character who's supposed to be Sabra?
No, I actually did not hear about that.
Well, apparently they've they've changed her backstory, or they've changed the character.
Wow. Okay.
So apparently, from what I'm hearing, she's going to be a Black Widow.
Interesting. Huh. I kind of like
Well,
that.
I think from what I read, the change may be because of like geopolitical reasons
Mm-hmm.
going on in that area of the world right now.
Yep. Hmm. Very, very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say much about the trailer. I only watched it twice. I don't have like any detailed breakdown in front of me or
Mm-hmm.
anything that I wrote or anything like that. And I didn't, of course, watch it right before this or anything either. But I will say, my favorite thing, of course, is probably everybody's here. That we get that glimpse of Red Hulk there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. It's like you know I feel like that could possibly bring back some excitement. If done right, they could really, really do something cool with this. We don't know much about the plot. At least you and I don't. I mean, I'm sure there's spoilers out there and everything, but I don't have those. And I don't wish to read them, obviously. But I don't know. I think this is set up to be really, really good. It could possibly be a very, very good installment in the MCU, and you know bringing it back kind of like to its roots a little bit. Like I think that there's potential for that there. So I'm not going to get too hyped on it, but I'm definitely far from jaded on the MCU, and I don't know. I think it looks really promising. Now, I, Bob, so much has happened since our last episode. Agatha All Along trailer dropped as well. Agatha All
Mm-hmm.
Along is going to be the new Disney Plus series that drops. I don't have the date in front of me. I'm a horrible podcaster here, but I think it's like mid-September, September 18th or something like that. And it's going to
Okay.
premiere with 2 episodes. I'm going to drop on Disney Plus, and yeah, man, this isn't something that you and I have really talked about yet. So I don't know what your thoughts and everything are. I know that I was a huge, huge WandaVision fan. One of my favorite Disney Plus shows, MCU Disney Plus shows that came out. So I really, really liked it a lot. And whenever I learned that we were getting the spinoff and everything, well, I mean, for one, you already know where I stand on the horror and supernatural side of
Yep.
Marvel. Like that's what I
Yep.
want to see right now. That's what I think we
Mm-hmm.
need. I think we need to take that left turn and do some stuff like this. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was so stoked on the Werewolf by Night special, and because they kind of did that, and I think that they have the potential to do this here. Dude, this thing looks insane. I mean, it looks like it's got straight up horror in it, and it looks like it's got the right comedic timing and everything that I feel like Agatha All Along can bring. It's got Audrey Plaza in it, which is sorry, Aubrey Plaza in it, which is a really, really good thing. I feel like it is just going to be such a great uh, asset to this, which is cool because
Mm-hmm.
of I feel like, is she going to be playing like her same role she did on Legion, or is it going to be something completely different, kind of similar? I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm so stoked about this, and this would be impossible to break down. So much happens in this trailer, like so much, but it is, in my opinion, so cool. I want to hear your thoughts on
Um. mm,
it.
Well, I mean, it's just been probably been about a week and a half at least since I watched the trailer, so
Hmm.
it's just not fresh in my mind. I
Hmm.
mean, I like how they're basically doing like the whole CSI thing in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Before while she's still stuck in the loop, and you know I I really like that they've got that they did get yeah, Aubrey Plaza in this series because I think she's a really good actress,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering if we could possibly get a Scarlet Witch cameo, considering.
I think so. I imagine that we'll get one, honestly.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to this just to see where it goes. There is a theory. I don't know if it's a fan theory or whatnot that I read, that when she's starting to walk down the Witch's Road
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the trailer, that there's like a castle at the end of the Witch's Road, and I actually read a theory that that could possibly be a version of Castle Doom.
Really?
Well, yeah, and it kind of makes sense considering Doom has such a big magical, presence, and that it could. Doctor Doom also has time travel capabilities. So while it may not be Doom proper, it could be a version of Doom from either the past or the future.
And that
I
could
mean,
be
I
so
don't.
cool. That could be such a cool way to bring in Doom to the universe.
I mean, I don't think that theory is true, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't. Just as long as we don't get another Ralph Boner joke.
Yeah, that would be nice. Please don't.
No.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just say a couple of things and then cut it off there. But yeah, I'm really excited of how it's really bringing in some horror elements, or at least it looks like it is. Looks like it's even got like some like Exorcist like homages and stuff like that in there. Some really really cool stuff, and it looks like it's going to be scary, which is good. That's what I want. I feel like that's kind of like what a lot of people are looking for right now. One of the biggest things for me is, like you said, it starts off with that kind of CSI investigation type of thing, and that's just such a cool way to introduce it. I don't know. I just feel like this has like all the potential in the world to make a really amazing Disney Plus show, and I feel like it's going to be fighting uphill, honestly, because it's an unknown character. Nobody knows who Agatha is unless you watched WandaVision. So this is like almost like a deep cut for the fans, basically. Kind of like Werewolf by Night was, not something that the general public is familiar with at all. And you have to really kind of be into these things. So, it's easy enough to slap like Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, even She-Hulk, stuff like that on the name of a show, and think it might do okay. But I think I like that they're taking chances with stuff like Echo, which I thought was phenomenal. I really liked Echo a lot. I thought it was really good. I don't think it was, probably the greatest, most well-received thing in the world, but I really liked it a lot. And I like that they're going with Agatha. I think that, I really trust what's going on here. And I think it's going to be really good. So I'm really stoked about it. Just so we can move on, because we've been in news for a long time now, and I'll just try to hit these last couple of headlines and then we'll get out of news. But Lamron, I don't know, Morris will wow, I can't talk. Will portray Robbie Robertson in the 8-episode TV series of Spider-Man Noir. Jennifer Lawrence is going to produce and star in a feature film adaptation of the graphic novel Why Don't You Love Me, which was released by Drawn and Quarterly in 2022. Matthew Chauncey, the writer of What If, will replace Bo DeMeo on writing season 3 of X-Men 97. Now, I'm not going to lie, that kind of scares me a little bit. I don't know how you feel.
It does.
Yeah, I don't feel like What If hit the nail on the head. It had some cool moments in it, but it's definitely not anything like the success of X-Men 97. So I'm very scared.
No, it just had way too many valleys. It had its peaks, but it just had way too many valleys.
Yeah, that honestly scares me. I hope maybe he's gotten the right feedback or grown enough to be able to do this, but I'm terrified. Uh, according to the production schedule, The Blonde Phantom is in pre-production and will begin shooting in January 2025, with Kevin Feige and Scarlett Johansson producing. So The Blonde Phantom is a thing that is happening. I guess we can't deny it now.
That's still just an out of left field pick.
Very, very, yeah. There is a red band trailer for Watchmen. I haven't seen it. Maybe
I have not.
Yeah, maybe we'll give it a shot a little later. Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones has been cast in a lead role in Amazon's Criminal adaptation. Of course, Criminal from Icon Comics back in 2006, the Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips series that interweaves several generations of families tied together by the crimes and murders of the past. So, yeah, it looks like a big get for them to get Emilia Clarke. They must have some faith in this thing. And my last little bit of news is everybody's favorite director, and I know Bob's favorite director of all time, Michael Bay, is in talks to direct Barbaric for an A&E television series with Patrick Stewart and Sam Claflin in lead roles. I don't know who Sam Claflin is. I could have said his last name wrong. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, he can have TV. Just keep him away from movies.
Or, just the Transformers for you, I guess. But
and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh God, Bob, let's not bring that up. I made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might be a over glorification of what he did to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
hey, you watch. The next franchise he gets his hooks into is going to be Jurassic Park.
Oh, Bob, that's when I quit. I'm done. No more point in life. Wow. Interesting. Well, I think
the dinosaurs will explode.
Yeah, they will. Oh God, no, Bob, no. That's all the news I got. Unless you got anything on your end.
Nope.
Cool. Then we'll take a very quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. And we are back with issue number 78 of the all new, all different #1 comics podcast. Here to talk to you about some new comics that have hit comic book shelves, tables, whatever it is, at your local comic book shops this week. Bob, starting us out from DC Comics, we've got Absolute Power, Task Force 7, #1. It's a tie-in to their Absolute Power event, and I'm sure that has something interesting happening in it. I have not been following DC's event. I'm sorry. The only event I've been following is Blood Hunt, so yeah, forgive me. From Marvel Comics and friend of the pod, Steve Orlando, Annihilation 2099, issue number 2, with the first appearance of Star-Lord 2099, a Wakandan tech goddess, and the first appearance of Quasar 2099. Another one of Bob's favorite characters in the Marvel Deep Vault there, Quasar.
God, there's a guy who doesn't get any love.
Right? We need more Quasar comics. Why can't we just have like a nice little 4-issue mini or something? Bob, we've got Avengers number 16, of course, a tie-in to Blood Hunt. From DC Comics, from the DC Vault, Death in the Family. Robin Lives #1, a limited series that harkens back to 1988, when comic fans voted for Jason Todd to die. Except in this issue, it tells the story of what happened if he were spared from death.
Because everybody was dying to know.
They sure as hell were.
Pun intended.
Da-dunch. We got a second printing of Doom #1 and a second printing of the 125 variant as well. This thing's on fire, dude. Everybody wants this Doom book. I've got my copy. I didn't buy a second print, and I didn't grab an incentive for the original or the second print. But yeah, it was cool. It was written well, really good art, fun book. From DC Comics, we've got Green Lantern issue 13, the origin of I can't say that character's name, but Tharos. I'm gonna go with. From Marvel Comics,
good to me.
Right? From Marvel Comics, Hulk Blood Hunt #1, Of course, the cool thing about this one, and I haven't read it yet, but what I've heard from some comic book friends is that, like the other ones, like the Jubilee and the Magik and the Psylocke issues of standalone issues of Blood Hunt,
Right.
this one doesn't take a turn from. Well, I guess difference is those didn't have ongoing series and Hulk does, but this fits into the Hulk series that's going on. So it's not like a complete sidestep. It still works with the series that's going on, which is kind of cool,
Very interesting.
right? We got Kid Venom #1. So Kid Venom back at it again. The first appearance of a name that I would never be able to say, and the Samurai Course. So there's that. I did pick up Bob. I don't know if you picked up Kid Venom, but I grabbed. Here, let me pull it out and show it to you, so I can show you the cover. But I grabbed the John Tyler Christopher negative space cover here. Really,
Nice.
yeah, it's a cool cover. I usually like grab those if it's a character that I like, but this one was cool. What which reminds me, and we'll get into this later, but what cover of X-Men #1 did you grab? Because I grabbed the Magik variant, the John Tyler Christopher negative space variant for that.
Oh, which is it now?
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's like
I
the
just
every
grabbed.
X-Men ever or something like that. I forget the name of the variant.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool variant. We got Spider Boy issue #9, the first appearance of King Bowler. Bob, I know you love this series, and yeah, already up to issue 9. That's
I do.
crazy. Yeah, really cool. Star Wars Ahsoka issue #1, the first appearance of Balin Skull, and the first appearance of Shin Hattie.
Yes.
You know,
Hottie.
I okay. I was gonna say, I feel like I'm coming on like really weird with saying that, but I'm not sure how you say it. So, uh, are those characters? I probably asked you this last week. Are those characters from the Ahsoka show, or are they like new for this
yeah,
comic?
yeah. They were made for the Ahsoka show. Balin Skull was played by the late Ray Stevenson.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow. And of course, we've got Volume 7, issue #1 of X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men #1. This one's got the debut of the factory headquarters of the X-Men, the first team appearance of an antagonist team, and the first appearance of Paula Robbins. That's pretty much all I got. I did pick up a copy of Image #1, or sorry, Image Comics, The Domain issue #1, which takes place in the public domain, Chip Zdarsky world, the comic within the comic thing. I also picked up Boom Studios Profane issue #2, not only because it has this great Mike Allred cover, but also because I really liked that first issue. I thought it was insane, so I did pick that up. Ice Cream Man issue #40. I can't believe that that's at 40. Like, I remember picking up the first issue of that book and really loving it, and now it's at issue 40.
That
So
is. Yeah, I was gonna say that is crazy. It's at number 40.
yeah, and I also picked up Ultimates #2, which could have came out last week. I
Yep.
don't remember, but yeah, I picked that up as well. Bob, I think that means it's time to take another break. We'll be back in just a moment. Hello and welcome back to the all new, all different #1 comics podcast, issue #78. Because Bob has issues, so do the X-Men, and so do I. Bob, it is time to talk about the X-Men. Of course, that's why we are here, to talk about the adjectiveless X-Men that dropped this week. X-Men #1. Of course, written by Jed McKay and art by Ryan Stegman. Let's get into Marvel's synopsis really quick. From the ashes, Krakoa is gone. Orchis has fallen, but the X-Men remain, always. Cyclops leads because that is what he does. Beast builds because that is what he does. And from their new home in Alaska, the X-Men raise a flag of defiance. Mutant business is their business. Join Cyclops, Beast, Magneto, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Temper, Magik, and Juggernaut as new forces in the world move into position, battling for the destiny and philosophy of the mutant species. So, as I said before, written by Jed McKay. Bob, I think this is the first time we've done a Jed McKay book.
It might be. It
Yeah, and
really might be that I can remember.
right in my memory too. Jed McKay has done a lot of stuff. Of course, a lot for Marvel. He's, I think, most famous, for me at least, Moon Knight. He's done a nice long run on Moon Knight. He's done Magik for Boom Studios. He did Doctor Strange for a while. He is the current Avengers writer, I believe. I'm pretty sure that he's still on the Avengers. So he's been on Avengers since the beginning of this arc. So what, this is on issue 18, or sorry. This is on issue 16. But yeah, he's written on Avengers for a little bit now. Black Cat, Strange, Vengeance of Moon Knight, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Death of Doctor Strange, Iron Cat, Avengers Mech Strike, Mary Jane and Black Cat, Taskmaster. He wrote some on Blood Hunt as well as Man Without Fear, Spider-Verse. And yeah, he's done things. The dude's done things. You guys know Jed McKay. Ryan Stegman is the artist on this book, and Ryan Stegman is best known for his work on Venom and Spider-Man. He worked with Donny Cates on Venom. He's worked a lot on Spider-Man. He's worked on the Schlub, Vanish, King in Black, Inhuman, The Uncanny Avengers, Wolverine, New Mutants, Dead Soul, Sabretooth, Spider-Man 2099 Exodus. Ryan Stegman, a big powerhouse in Marvel as of lately. So I think both of these names. They're both powerhouses over at Marvel as of recent. Let's get into my synopsis, Bob. This one's going to be long, so please, sit back, wait. If you have anything you want to interject with before I start, feel free. But this one's going to be a little long.
I know your synopsis, so I'm ready for a long one.
Well, I've taken my swig of orange beet juice, so 3, 2, 1, here we go. X-Men, adjectiveless X-Men, opens 10 months after Krakoa with Chief Paula Robbins of the Merle, Alaska Police Department, visiting the factory from an invite from Cyclops. She meets Beast as he invites her in. Then we flash over to Santo Marco. Cyclops, Kid Omega, Psylocke, Magik, Juggernaut, and Temper, aka, oh yeah. Sorry, the AKA threw me off there for a second. Sorry. Anyways, we meet up with them, and Temper uses some of her temperature manipulation to fight off the Orcus soldiers, and from there, they're going to save Wolverine. They're on a mission to save Wolverine. And then we flash back over to Beast. He shows the police chief around the property, and she meets Glob Herman. I know, definitely one of Bob's favorite X-Men. And we see the abandoned Sentinel factory. And then back over to the team and the Orcus with Wolverine. We learn that Scott had sent Logan to investigate the 6 Cerebro pings coming from the area. And then back over to Beast. He explains why they decided to set up, where they set up, and then back to the team. So there's still a lot of back and forth. Kid Omega and Temper fight Sentinels, and the team retrieves Wolverine, and Kid Omega uses his powers to find the 6 Cerebro pings that were a trap. They were all adults and Orcus affiliated. Over to Beast and the Chief. Beast introduces her to Xorn, and Magneto shows up. He explains his side of the argument, as Magneto always does, and Beast shows her there is nothing to fear, and Magneto, of course, explains that he should be feared. Back to the team, they find these new mutants whose mutations have activated as adults, and one eats Kid Omega's thoughts, and another one can form black holes. Magik cuts off his arm and brings it back to the factory, where Wolverine takes off his usual and pouts and goes back into the woods. And Scott hands Beast the severed arm. Beast tells Scott about the chief visiting, and Beast asks Scott if he can strip the massive sentinel hovering over the town for parts. And Scott responds not yet, because he wants to make sure they don't forget what they owe him. So again, sorry for a kind of disjointed and long synopsis there, but this is a long book. I wouldn't say the book is disjointed, but kind of retelling is a little weird. Let's get into the review of this thing, Bob. How did you feel about the story beats here?
As a whole, I like the story beats as a whole. I mean, it was kind of weird, the whole back and forth between being at the factory and then all of a sudden it goes to the fight and then going back to the factory and going to the fight. I could have done with a little less of that. But I mean, as a whole, it wasn't enough of a slowdown to warrant saying that the beats didn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. The beats definitely worked for me. I think sometimes, especially like in this setting, comics want to play out like a little bit cinematic or whatever, and they want to build the tension, and they want to go back and forth between like two, different important pieces of dialogue or whatever. And there's a lot going on here, but I think if you kind of separate them and just look at the story beats for what they are, you've got Beast, basically Beast, Glob, and Xorn, all kind of set up in this factory. They're keeping house while the rest of the team is off on a mission. I do want to talk about this team just for a second, Bob, because I'm not going to ask you to build your dream X-Men team or anything, but this is this is an odd X-Men team. It's pretty weird. Yeah. Like if you think about who's there, because of course, even in the solicit, they're not talking about Xorn and Glob and stuff like that. And I mean, we just gloss over Temper, who's never been a thing before, which is odd, but very interesting. And I assume later we'll go more into Temper, like in later issues or something. We'll talk more about Temper's backstory and how she got her mutant powers and everything. But yeah, this is a very interesting team. I mean, you have Cyclops leading, so that's a normal fit. You've got Beast, so it's like we've got Beast and Cyclops. Okay,
so you've got core members.
Yeah. And then we throw Magik, which I'm always going to be fine with, but okay, Beast, Magik, Cyclops, Psylocke, Juggernaut, like Xorn, Glob Herman. It just starts kind of going. Kid Omega. I mean, I guess yeah, we need an Omega level mutant and all of that, but like, I don't know. This is such a weird team. It's such a weird team, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. I remember who was it? Because Kid Omega dates somebody in this issue, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Their exes and their oh god, I'd have to look back at the book to remember who it is. But yeah, it's just very interesting. Some of the dynamics here, some of the team ups. You really have Juggernaut and Magik kind of playing off one another, and they're like arguing like they're brother and sister sometimes, and it's weird.
Playing rock paper scissors to see who goes first.
Right, and they don't quite understand it, and it's just yeah, it's an interesting team, very interesting dynamic. But I think the beats did work fine. Of course, you break it down. Look, the point of this whole book is that Wolverine's been captured by Orcus soldiers, and he's being held hostage there, and the Orcus soldiers are they have their own adult mutants, who have pink cerebro, and that's
Hmm.
weird because that only happens, when you're younger, becoming a teenager, going through puberty, all of those things. So these guys are
Right.
beaming as adults, which is very weird. And it's Orcus soldiers, mutating and evolving, which is stuff we saw glimpses of at the Krakoa age. But yeah, really, really interesting. And then with all of this happening, we also have uh, you know, uh, this team of X-Men settling into this Alaskan town, and kind of showing the chief of police their headquarters, so they can be like, "Hey, don't worry. Like, we're here. We're just your neighbors. You don't have to worry about us. Everything's fine." And she's kind of like, "You're right. You guys are the X-Men. You're insane. This is not fine." That's kind of the core of the story. I think the beats worked fine. I did have no problem with the beats here. Of course, Jed McKay, a good writer. So, uh, from the beats, the next section that we're going to talk about, of course, being the dialogue. So, how did you feel about Jed McKay's dialogue on an adjectiveless X-Men team?
The the dialogue, that goes along with, what we were just talking about, the whole dynamic between the team members.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The dialogue was just kind of weird because it just seemed like dialogue I'm not expecting from some of these members.
Mm-hmm. I'm I'm gonna shadow that. Like I'm kind of in the same boat. Not all of it bothered me. Some of it worked fine. I feel like Beast talking to the police chief, that worked.
Well, yeah, I mean that was fine because Beast has always been, the eloquent,
Mm-hmm.
human thesaurus, or should I say, mutant
Yeah,
thesaurus.
right. Careful. Yeah. I feel like Beast's part worked here. I feel like I wasn't getting enough out of Cyclops. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't get that normal. I didn't feel like they nailed his voice. I'm a big fan of Magik, and I think that it was interesting to see her interact with Juggernaut in the way that they were, but I didn't really get Ileana Rasputin out of that voice that much. Temper being like our newer character, I feel like we could have gotten a little bit better introduction through dialogue or something. I'm not asking for a cheesy, "Hey Temper, remember when you joined the team 3 months ago and this happened?" Like, I don't want that, but I don't know. I feel like something could have happened, and I guess overall, I'm gonna say it was fine. I don't feel like he nailed all of these voices. So
Yeah. Now, I think he did a really good job on Kid Omega's dialogue, especially
mhm.
because Kid Omega is that like smart ass character.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
He thinks he
I agree
knows
there.
better, and I don't know about you, but I could definitely when they were coming back to the factory, I could definitely see Magneto saying, "Please tell me he's going to die in one of these missions."
Yeah, that was the other thing. And this is more of a story, itself, and less of anything that we can individually break down or whatever. Magneto showing up, really interesting. I don't know really why Magneto's here on this team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was kind of the same way. He showed up, and it's like, okay, yeah. And I mean, Magneto started doing what Magneto does.
Hmm.
Like Beast refers to in the comic, and I'm just thinking to myself, why exactly is Magneto here? I mean, he I mean, in this first issue, being an ongoing series, I'm sure they'll explain it down the line. But in this first issue, didn't, he just didn't lend anything.
I agree. He was just there. Like, it was, what was the purpose? We already had like a big cameo from Wolverine. I'm just not sure why we
Mhm.
moved Magneto. Anyways, we can get more into that with like straight thoughts or something. But how about the narrative of the book? I'll start. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in the beats too, but I think narratively this works fine. It's a format that we're very familiar with, cutting from
Mhm.
one story to the next. It's a narrative structure that we're very used to. Now, with that being said, I think that it's kind of gonna be like the dialogue for me. It's not like there was anything wrong with any of it. It worked fine. I think that it would have been a little bit more interesting to me if maybe we started with the police chief and Beast, and if, you know, held on to the mission for a while longer and then went back to that, like as opposed to like cutting in and out all the time.
As opposed to the in out, which I, opened by saying I could have, I could have dealt with less of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
So
completely
yeah,
agree.
I mean, something like that, would have been pretty good. It's like either hold on longer, a little bit longer with one or the other. I mean, don't do a little bit here and then jump to a little bit here and then jump to a little bit back here.
Yeah, it was definitely a little uneven. It was kind of strange, but uh, how about the last thing in our story part of it, the world building? If you want to go first, I can go after you.
I mean, I like so far how they've fleshed out this world. I mean, you had you know, Beast explaining to the chief, showing her around the factory. They've got the vegetable garden. Um, of course, the manufacturing part of the factory still left. I mean, they showed the town of Merle. I mean, you got the Orcus facility that they intercepted. So, I mean, so far I like the world they're building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the world a lot. I think that the world building was probably my favorite part of the book. It's it's very cool. It's hard to write X-Men. It's hard to write, these teams, especially, they've been done so many times and so many different
Hmm.
characters are interacted on a team together and all of that. I think that the world building was done really well here. I like this team of X-Men kind of branched off into Alaska. I think that that's very interesting and cool. Uh, well, I don't think that we have to, I think Wolverine probably is gone. It's interesting to throw him in the first issue here and have
Hmm.
him kind of pissed off and walk out into the wilderness and everything. It's such a good take on Wolverine from Jed McKay there. I think that was on point. And yeah, I think that overall the factory, this new X-Men headquarters is really cool. Yeah, I'm really digging what's going on. Digging the X-Men in like a small Alaskan town with a giant sentinel, looming over them. That's super cool and weird. I really, really dig that. Some big ideas here, and I think that they really worked in the story. Let's move over to the art by Ryan Stegman. We're both insanely familiar with Ryan Stegman.
Yes.
He's a very comfortable X-Men, or sorry, Marvel illustrator. How did you feel about his characters here? Again, like he's kind of playing in a sandbox. It's we're very familiar with all these characters. We're very familiar with Ilyana Rasputin's weird leather bondage outfit that they've got her in here, and
Yeah.
some
And
of the choices.
of course, the heroic Juggernaut outfit, which
Uh huh.
it's still crazy to think of the Juggernaut as a hero.
Yeah, exactly. And that outfit is intense. The way they got the X on there. Also, the
Hmm.
one of the things that was very interesting to me was Beast, the portrayal of Beast here with the dark spots on around the eyes and everything. Uh, you know, we've got a mutual friend who pointed that out to me before I read the book as well. And even if he didn't point it out, it's obviously something I would have noticed as well. But a really interesting choice to go with. How did you feel about that in particular?
It. I'll just come out and say it. I wasn't a fan.
Hmm.
I wasn't a fan of Beast portrayal. I mean, you know, they Ryan Stegman made him, and I know this is like an homage to earlier Beast, but I mean, he led into the too much of the Beast. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just something about him that and I don't know about you, but especially in the earlier panels, I mean, it got better as it went along, but I got a little bit of apocalypse face.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that, but that's not something that I really would have thought of myself if you didn't say it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's something you can go back and look at. But I mean, I saw those first couple of introductions, those first couple of close-ups to Beast, and right away I thought, "Oh, this looks like Apocalypse."
Well, yeah, I mean, fun callback, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I was okay with it. I won't lie. Like, it was a little bit jarring. It's very different. It's a stylistic choice. I didn't have a problem with it. I was okay with it. How about the backgrounds, Bob? This is obviously a big one for you. I always point this out on the podcast. Every comic that we cover, it's got to pass your background test. You are the background guy, and it's
Hmm.
you know I'm a huge art fan, and backgrounds are important to me as well. But I
Hmm.
think that our listeners have grown to know that if it doesn't pass your background test, then I think a lot of them maybe have adapted their own background test based on your background test. But it's a big part of.
I'd like to think so, but I don't think my voice has that much pull.
You never know, Bob. You never know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
possibly.
I'd love to hear what you thought about the backgrounds here, because yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're gonna say, but maybe it'll surprise me. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Sorry. I actually dug the backgrounds. I thought they were, I thought they were, I thought they were very well detailed.
Yeah, I like the
And
backgrounds in this too. I
I thought I thought they definitely fit the tone of this book.
One of my favorite things about the backgrounds here are they're like reminding me of a something grimy, something like 90s kind of sketchy and
Yeah,
dirty or something. Like there's
exactly.
something about it. It's very lived in, something I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but I really, really like them. Like, I don't know, almost like a Earthworm Jim video game background or something. There's just like a lot to it. It's really
Ooh, that's a
fun
good one.
and right. Like yeah. I really like the backgrounds a lot. I'm happy it passed your background test because yeah, I was scared. Just flipping through. Sometimes you see a few solid color panels, but there was enough going on in the other panels to really make it work. I think so. Yeah,
I mean,
I thought the backgrounds worked.
I mean, there were solid color panels, but I mean, there weren't a lot of the solid color panels, and
Hmm.
I mean, the backgrounds. I mean, when again, they were well detailed. There was a lot of detail in them. I mean, when they were in the jungle, I mean, you could make out all the flora and the fauna. You could make out the I guess you would say patchwork ship that they're in. I don't know what the Marauder or whatever they called it.
Yeah, it's the ship from the Marauder. Marauders. Yeah, I'm not sure what the name of it is. I don't remember. But...
And to yeah, actually to elaborate on what you were talking about, the whole '90s grimy thing.
Mhm.
To me, especially when because I was actually thinking about this when they showed the close up of the when they showed the outside of the factory. I was thinking, you know what? This could be a level from the X-Men video cabinet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely got that vibe, like Earthworm Jim, the X-Men video game, the
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles game, those kind of things. Really, really, really fun. I liked it a lot. Our next category, the locations. This thing hops around. Like, there's a lot going on. We're in the
Yeah.
Alaska town of Merle. We're in the factory facility. It's really the facility itself is really fleshed out in certain points, and then in certain points it's that old Sentinel factory and everything, which is really cool. There's like different sides to it, nuance and everything there. We get the Orcus. I don't know what you call that building there. The Orcus is in, and there's just a lot of different locations throughout this. Like you said, the jungles and everything. I really like the different places that they took us through the art here. I thought that was really, really cool, really outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that we're going to talk about, of course, is the colors. We do have a colorist, and Bob. I mean, there's no possible way I'd be able to say their name. Marta Gracia. I don't know. Gracia. I'm not sure. It's Marte is the first name, so I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but
hold on. Marte, yeah, Marte Gracia.
Oh, okay.
Gracia.
Gracia. Okay, well, good enough. Yeah, Marte Gracia's colors here. I think that they're really interesting with Ryan Stegman's art, but I think that they really lend themselves to it. I'm really digging it a lot. I think that that's kind of what's giving it that grimy like 90s like video game vibe to me or something has a lot to do with the colors. It has a lot to do with the grit also, but the colors really help as well. I'm just looking at this, first shot in the book, and we've got this prism of colors, with the sun kind of setting there behind the factory, and we've got this like rainbow kind of jutting out. I mean, there's some really cool colors here, and some of them feel very weathered and weird. Like when we look at Beast, they're really interesting contrast, and we get to like the purples of like Kid Omega and Psylocke and stuff. I think it works really well. One of my favorite things about this book is the Orcus, soldiers and scientists and stuff there, and they're like kind of weird purple hues and reds and stuff. Like I think that works. Really cool.
They kind of
good.
They kind of look like AIM outfits, don't they?
Yeah,
just differently colored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really cool. So I don't know, Bob. Let's get into our final thoughts on this book. If there's anything you want to say before you either recommend or don't recommend, and if you don't have anything yet, I can go first. But I'm gonna say this, Bob. I really like this book. I think it was odd. I think that I didn't love it at first, but I loved the idea. Just recently I read the comic book 30 Days of Night and watched the movie and did like a bonus episode on that with somebody. And that was really interesting. I'm really finding that I love the kind of remote towns in Alaska or whatever, like that kind of vibe, like for storytelling is such a cool, background to tell a story in. And I think that it really works well with like an X-Men team here. I like it a lot. Like Krakoa was really interesting because it was like this haven for all these mutants and everything. And now they're kind of displaced all over the globe. And I like that this oddball team got together in Alaska. And I think that it's really cool and interesting. I love that it's a Sentinel factory, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening here. It's really interesting and really cool, and I won't lie. I had some hangups. We talked about it at the beginning of our review. I think that some of the dialogue, a little bit of the narrative, and maybe a tiny bit of the beats, like didn't quite hit 100% for me. But I think this book overall was like a home run. I really enjoyed it. I really think that, if you're into X-Men, you're going to enjoy it, and I think that you should definitely pick up issue number 2. And just to piggyback on what I'm saying also, and then I'll shut up and take it over to you, is like, one of my biggest things is, especially over at like Marvel or DC, is you have these big events happen, or these big like ages with something like X-Men and the Krakoa age, which, Bob, I think the
Right.
Krakoan age was like 6 years long. It was like a pretty long age of
Yeah,
X-Men.
it was long.
Yeah, and while I know it's over and we're starting a new age, doesn't have a name yet or whatever, but it's from the ashes of Krakoa and all of that. Like, a lot of times we would just kind of ignore what happened before and start with a new team and all that. And I like that this is building off what happened. I think that that is cool, and it shows that that wasn't just like bullshit writing, and we're moving on to the next thing. Like, it's important to the history of the X-Men that Krakoa happened, and it's important for all these characters and everything, but we are picking up and moving on from there. So I think that that is a really good take on what's happening with what Jonathan Hickman did with the entire X team. So yeah, I highly suggest this. I think you guys should definitely read it, add it to your pools, and I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Well, while I think this isn't, my favorite, number one that I've read, like Avenger style team up, X-Men style team up, anything like that. While I don't think it's, the strongest number one I've read, I mean, it definitely it definitely does its job as a number one. So, I mean, if you're a fan of X-Men or want to get, started on X-Men and learn about some new characters, which you definitely will in this book. If you don't know anything about Glob, if you don't know anything about Xorn, if you don't know anything about Temper, which, of course, not a whole lot of people do, then yeah, I would recommend picking up this book.
I think well said. It's definitely an interesting book. It's maybe not the best thing to pick up if you've never read an X-Men book before and have no idea who the X-Men are, any exposition of the X-Men. I mean, I guess it would be easy enough to say the X-Men are a team of mutants, who, mutants are hated by the rest of the world, and they had this, perfect habitat for a while, and that broke up, and here's the aftermath of that. I guess that's kind of easy enough to just kind of say or whatever, but I think you do need a little bit of understanding of where these characters come from and who Juggernaut is, and Magik, and Kid Omega and all that. I think all of that is important, but I think you could still pick this book up and read it. I don't think it's a huge problem if you don't know much. Now, maybe not knowing anything, might be a little different, sure, but yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a fun book and an easy one to just pick up and check out.
Yeah.
And that moves us on to our last break before the end of the show. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some comics that are coming out next week. Hey guys, and welcome back to the all new, all different number one comics podcast, issue number 78. Bob, it's time for you to hit them with some new comics that are dropping next week. I know you're very excited to just get started and go ahead and talk about them, but of course, before you can do that, Bob, it's really important. I mean, I feel like you should come up with some kind of like PSA, some public service announcement to make sure that people don't show up at their local comic book shop, on our accord, and they say, "Hey, listen, Bob and Dan sent me. I was listening to the all new, all different number one comics podcast. I heard Bob. He was like, hey, this comic book is coming out next week." And then they're like, "Listen, kid, what are you talking about? This comic isn't coming out for 2 weeks from now." I feel like maybe you could do some kind of disclaimer time. It's disclaimer time. Welcome to disclaimer time. All you kids, listen to disclaimer time with Bob.
Well, unfortunately, I can't do a PSA where it's one of those. The following has been paid by. Unless somebody would like to step in and do that.
Right? Pay our damn bills.
hint, hint. But like I always say, this and every other week, the comics that I'm about to read are just, a few of the handful of the important titles which are coming out next week. If you want a more in-depth list, please feel free to consult elsewhere. You can call your local comic shop. Please and thank you go a long way in this world.
Sure
They may read you. They may give you all the titles that are coming next week. Tell you who's writing them. Tell you who's illustrating them. Give a short description. You could always, send an email, send snail mail, Harry Potter owl, send a unicorn, send the eagles from Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, very topical, Bob. Throw Lord of the Rings in there. I like it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have anything new for this week?
Bob, it's hard sometimes to come up with anything new. Especially we're working remotely. We don't have the magic of the room in front of us, but yeah,
Right.
like Bob said, it's please and thank you go a really long way. All you got to do is roll up to your local comic book shop, however you're going to roll up, and if you can't roll up, and all you can do is call, then so be it. But manners, they matter, kids. Please. Hey, is there any way you can tell me some of the new books that are coming out next week? I just don't know what to grab. Bob and Dan made them all sound so good that I need some help narrowing them down. And I'm sure that your local comic book shop would be happy to do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, depending on what kind of mood they're in. So starting off the list, and this is a book I'm definitely not going to pick up. I'm sure Dan's not going to pick it up either, but I just have to mention it just because of what it is and how off the wall all this stuff is. From Keen Spot, yes, Keen Spot. I believe that may be the first time they've made an appearance on one of my lists. We have Biden's Titans versus Mickey #1.
Yeah, I won't be picking up this John Barron and Sean Remuluk book, but good for them.
Yes. Going to Marvel Comics, we have Blood Hunters #4.
Ooh, Bob, back with the blood hunting. Yeah, Blood Hunters #4. When Earth's skies go dark, it attracts the attention of the Silver Surfer. See the Blood Hunt event from an entirely new and cosmic perspective. Yeah, excited about this one. Really cool.
Yes. From staying with Marvel Comics, we have Daredevil, A Woman Without Fear #1.
Yeah, Bob, a whole new volume in Daredevil Woman Without Fear. Spinning out of Daredevil 11. Yeah, we've got Daredevil's allies are left more vulnerable than ever. If they're able to survive, it will fall to Elektra and Matt Murdock to not only save their city as Daredevil, but also protect the people they love the most, as they're targeted by some of the most dangerous, violent elements in the Marvel Universe ever. Written by Erica Schultz, so you know it's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'll definitely be written well.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Detective Comics, that's quite a conundrum right there. We have Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #1.
Yeah, the Dark Knights of Steel are back. The Elseworlds relaunch continues with a bone-chilling Dark Knights of Steel chapter starring Deathstroke. The snow falls thick, blood runs black, the color itself is only a distant memory. The legendary assassin Deathstroke stalks a frozen wasteland, killing for coin among a nation of ever-warring Jarls. Never heard the word Jarls before, Bob. That's a new one for me.
I have not either, and I've heard of a lot of words. Going to Image Comics, we have Destro #2.
Yeah, back over to the Energon universe. The world is changing, and Destro means to come out on top. But with Cobra Commander breathing down his neck and mercenaries, whoever their names are, seeking to dethrone him as the world's premier weapons manufacturer, he'll have to survive the future in order to build it.
Yes, and again, if you live in Jacksonville, Florida, stop by Gotham City Limits because they have exclusive connecting variants of all 5 Destro covers.
Yeah, really, really great looking variants, by the way.
Yes. Going back to Marvel, we have Dracula Blood Hunt #3.
Yeah, man, back to the Blood Hunt. What cannot be done is what must be done. The vampire scourge continues to ravage Earth as the blood hunt rages on, and Dracula must move to assert his place in the hierarchy of the night. That is, if he can convince Brielle Brooks, aka Bloodline, to bend his will. To bend to his will. Unfortunately, she's a teenage girl, and convincing her of anything will take every resource the immortal Lord of Vampires has at his disposal.
Very interesting. Sticking with Marvel, we have Phoenix #1.
Yeah, Bob, Phoenix is coming out. I actually just received my package from Penguin, and it had I think 6 copies of Phoenix #1 in it. Yeah, we've got Phoenix #1 written by Stephanie Phillips. So yeah, man, this is probably going to be good. From the ashes, a new beginning for Phoenix.
So we don't know who Phoenix is going to be.
I assume that Phoenix is Jean Grey, but
well, I mean, wasn't it just Echo?
Bob, life, fire, power, responsibility. Phoenix, she is Jean Grey. She is Phoenix. She saves the world.
Oh,
she brings death. One woman, alone in space. I can go.
All right. Going to Image, we have Rat City #4.
Right, front of the pod, Erica Schultz back at it again with her Rat City in the Spawnverse. As Peter's powers continue to grow and evolve, he starts to learn a bit more about where they come from, and that means he becomes a target, Bob. So if you want a really, really, really well-written Spawn comic with some beautiful art, pick up Rat City #4.
You heard it here, folks. Sticking with Image, we have one of my favorites. We have Redcoat #4.
Wow, Bob. Redcoat, batshit insane comic. It's just crazy. Yeah, this is fun. Pick it up. What else can I say? Check out our episode.
Yeah, I mean it's basically Vandal Savage if he was a British soldier. Going back to Detective Comics, we have Superman #16.
Superman, that's right. Superman, of course, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Jamal Campbell. They can't break the team up because they're too damn good. Superman is down, but not out. Waller and her forces are winning. While the Fortress of Solitude has become the home base for the survivors, the injured and the powerless, Superman must go on a dangerous mission into the magical realm. Guest starring Zatanna. So, Bob, we're getting Zatanna back here. We just checked in with Zatanna, and now she's going to be on Superman.
Yeah, Superman and Magik don't work that well.
Well, you said it.
Going to IDW Publishing, we have Rocketeer Breaks Free #1.
Wow, Rocketeer again. This is a Rocketeer, I don't know, spinoff. Yeah, Rocketeer. Check it out.
And rounding out my list, we have from Dynamite Comics, Thundercats #6.
Yeah, Thundercats. Wow. Back to the Thundercats. Really, really fun. series has been so good so far. Bob, just a couple of books that I want to talk about really quick before we move on. Oni Press releases Biker Mice from Mars #1. Yeah, Biker Mice from Mars. We've been waiting for this for a while. Super cool. Can't wait to check it out. From Boom Studios, we have Blowaway, issue #4 from Zach Thompson. This has been such a good book. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Bob, one of your favorite publishers, Archie Comics, we have Chilling Adventures presents Truth or Dare. Yeah, I know, Bob. You don't have to tell me how many copies you're getting. I know there's quite a few coming. So, we've also got from Titan Comics, Elric, the Necromancer #1, from Udon, Final Fight #1, from Image, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero 308. DC Comics, we've got Green Lantern War Journal 11, from Dark Horse, Heartpiercer #3. Such a good book. Sorry, you'll have to excuse my alert there, but yeah, Heartpiercer #3, a wonderful book. And we've got from Boom Studios, I Heart Skull Crusher, issue #5. Speaking of good books, man, that book is unmatched. Such a good book. Really, really fun. From DC, we've got Nightwing 116. From Dark Horse, Paranoid Gardens #1. We've got Per Evil, issue #5 from Image Comics. Remote Space, issue #2 from Image. Rifters #2 from Image. Scarlet Witch #2 from Marvel Comics, Spider-Woman 9, Star Wars 48. From IDW, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures #15, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan issue #5. Steve Orlando's back at it from Magma Comics with the Scale Trade issue #3. And I think, three more big ones. Witchblade is back. We got a new volume of Witchblade over at Image Comics, so check that out if you're into Witchblade. We've also got Tom King's wonderful Wonder Woman with issue #11, and then we've got another Blood Hunt tie-in, X-Men Blood Hunt, Laura Kinney, the Wolverine, issue #1. So those are some of the new books that are dropping next week. Again, call your local comic book shops if you want to know more about any of those. Bob, we're going to head on over to the wheelofnames.com, not sponsored by yet, still. Look, over in this podcast, and Wheel of Names, what are you doing? You're sleeping on this podcast. What's going on? But that's okay. We're going to use the wheel from the lovely wheelofnames.com here to spin and see what book we land on to cover next week. Bob, it could be anything. It's close. Bob, well, it looks like we're covering a book that I just want to see your face, while I tell you the title of this one. Bob, we are covering Powerpuff Girls #1. So I know you're excited. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun week.
Powerpuff Girls #1.
It just goes to show you never know what you're going to get here at the All New All Different #1 Comics podcast. We could cover anything. And with that being said,
that will definitely be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to go into that blind because I don't know a whole lot about Powerpuff Girls.
Wow. You never watched Powerpuff Girls, Bob? Good show. Well, with that being said, we always love suggestions. If you guys want to hit us up on any of our social media and let us know an upcoming book that you'd like us to cover, the only requirement is that it's a #1 and it's something that we can buy at our local comic book shops, So other than that, feel free. Give us some suggestions. We'd love to hear them. Maybe we'll put up an Instagram poll or something for next week if it's not for next episode, if it's not one that we've already predetermined. But as always, use our hashtag AllNewAllDifferentNation to be entered in our weekly giveaway. Check us out on Instagram at ANAD_1 Comics Podcast, on X at ANADNO Comic Pod, on TikTok at ANAD1 Comics Pod, and on YouTube under the Comic Book Channel. Bob, thanks so much for joining me this week to talk about the adjective-less X-Men #1, and we'll see you guys next week.